Hey guys, marketing for developers in this Code on the Go episode. So what is marketing for developers? Essentially is getting the word out, developing a reputation so that you can either secure work or get into start getting freelance jobs. So the three most important assets that you can have going forward, in my estimation, are a reputation, develop a great reputation. Number two, develop great skill sets, technical and communication skills. And the third most valuable asset is IP, intellectual property. That could be a SaaS software that you develop. It could be a website that you could develop. It could be a book that you write, etc., etc., etc. So that in mind, if you want to market yourself as a developer, first thing you have to do is develop your skills. So you have to have your technical skills, and then you have to have some communication skills, writing skills, etc. I would also start building your reputation. So when you have your technical and your communication skills, those two skill sets can be used to develop that asset, that reputational asset. So important because people are going to hire you, whether as an employee or as a contractor, as a freelancer, based on your reputation first and foremost. That's what's going to get you in the door. So how do you build reputation? You build reputation by getting out there and getting to know people. That's where your communication skills come in handy. So one thing you could do is start speaking to local business after you finish, let's say, a basic web stack course, which is I always recommend because the web stack gives you the most opportunities in terms of jobs, whether it be freelance or whatnot, and the most opportunities in terms of business opportunities. The web stack is king, no question about that. So assuming that you got your web stack skills where you're able to build stuff, and you don't have to be crazy good, just be able to build nice looking websites, a nice looking CRUD based system. You know, you understand you're comfortable setting up hosting, you're comfortable getting a domain name, getting that online. This is all part of what you need to do as a professional developer, and that's part of the marketing aspect. So you have to get a website up for yourself, right? A website up that showcases that you're able to put up a website. That's the very basics, right? And make sure it looks good. So if you're not a designer type, just use a template and slightly modify it. But don't BS. If you're not a great designer, don't claim to be a great designer. Just show that you know how to implement other people's designs, right? That's one of the things about being a developer, is being able to have the nerd eyes, as they say, to be able to go out there and see what's available and to pick and choose what's the best, whether it be the best templates, the best language for the job, the best frameworks, the best database implementation. Sometimes you want to go NoSQL. Most of the times you're going to want to go SQL database. Most of the time, depending on the circumstance. That is what you have to do as a good developer. So by having a good website that illustrates these skills is far more important than anything else. You got to get that website. Another thing you got to do is maybe get some basic certifications. Something to show that you've passed some tests, you've done some things. It's not terribly important, but it helps a bit. It's kind of, it may pad your resume a few percentage points, if you will. For me, certifications is not nearly as important as getting a great looking website out there, doing a couple of freebie client jobs, just, as a stage, if you will. Not as important, but the certifications, a few here and there, can help people. For me, when I look at people who might work for me, the certifications for me is like, okay, he's got certifications. It shows at least he's put some effort. I'm not gonna go, oh my God, he's certified. Okay, I'm gonna hire this person. No, but when I see that it's there, it helps a little bit. But before you look at that, you got to get your skills, technical, written, build reputation by having a site, by doing a few projects here and there. Nothing will sell your skills more to somebody when they see that you actually have done work for real people. So that's very important. So how do you get your first jobs? Talk to local business, friends, family, something, and build something for real. Don't try to build something huge, but something, small. A couple of projects here and there, 2-3 projects is more than enough to get going for paid work. Remember, to do freebie jobs is fine. It's actually a great idea. People will go to stages, will go to code camps. I've heard people tell me this many times. They pay $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 US dollars to go to a code boot camp because they see, oh, I'll get a stage. Well, you don't need to pay $10,000, $20,000 to go to a code boot camp to get stage work. Stage work is just free work for working for somebody. Once you got a basic website up and you can do your basic foundational stuff, I'm talking web stack here, but I guess it's applicable to iOS development or Android development, then just approach companies and say, listen, this is what I know. Here's my site. This is what I know. I'm looking to build some chops and build some reputation. I'm willing to work for you for free for like 3 months, whatever it is. And you'll eventually get somebody who will say, okay, come in. You know, we'll get you going. We'll train you up. If you're any good, you probably end up you might end up getting a job there. If not, you've built some reputation. So yeah, web marketing has a lot to do with website. Do work so that you can showcase the work. Then you want to get on social, maybe have a social presence, whether it be Twitter or maybe a couple YouTube videos. Again, you just want to build reputation so that people can see that you have a certain level of real world competence. Do not show a portfolio of tutorials that you've done, because that's just a tutorial. You want to show a couple of projects that you built for real people. That's a big difference. Not a bunch of tutorials, because anybody can follow along the tutorials. That's just like painting by numbers. That is not the same thing as actually building a project for somebody. When you get into the development game, what you're going to find is that interaction with the client, the ability to communicate with them, to hammer down specifications and to deliver on these specifications is a big part of the process of being a developer. So doing tutorial walkthroughs, although they can help to a minimal extent, they're just a stepping stone to the real thing, right? They're just a stepping stone. So to make an analogy, I'll use a boxing analogy because that's my background. Tutorials are kind of like preset pad drills. So you got your coach, they might hold the pad, you're going to do a left, right, cross, and then left, right, uppercut. You know, those drills have a certain purpose, but you can't be one of these people, I used to call them pad hitters. People who never step up and get into the ring to actually spar or fight. They just hit pads. And the pad hitters discover if they ever get brave enough to jump into the ring to do the real deal, they realize that they're pad hitting, all those drills, all those tutorials, if you will, don't amount to making them good fighters. And they get a beating. They get a beating. There's no exceptions, a bad beating, versus the person. So you can have a guy who's doing pad hitting for 6 months, a year. Take a guy who's doing a professional pad hitter for 2 years. I've seen this. Guys, 2 years, 3 years, they can hit the pads like there's no tomorrow. And then they get in the ring with somebody who's just been sparring for 6 months. The guy who's been sparring for 6 months wipes the floor with the pad hitter, destroys him. No competition. Because the pad hitter, even though they're doing drills that help a little bit, pad hitting can only take you this far. You need to get the whole way. Same thing with tutorials. Tutorials are a bridge to the real deal. That's why I tell people when you are learning software development, you learn your foundations first and foremost. Once you got your foundations, then you do 1 or 2, maybe 3 little project courses to get your beak wet, to get the feet wet, to help you to understand, the basics of it. And then what you got to do is you got to take that leap and you got to get in the ring and you got to build something for somebody, for real. And what you're going to discover as a professional developer is that you're constantly learning new things, introducing yourself to new things as you go along. Even after 5-10 years of development, you're still going to be learning new things. Even after 15 years, you're going to still be learning new things. That's just part of the game. That's why a solid foundation in the fundamentals will make you a far better developer, because all those complex things that we see, all those complex frameworks, all these complex technologies, they're just all kinds of fundamental things stacked on top of each other. And when the confusion, in my experience, and experience with everybody I've ever worked with or mentored or taught, the confusion comes when learning to code is when you don't understand some key fundamentals. So you may have a technology, think of it like like a hamburger. You have your bread, you got your meat, you got your pickles and your toppings, and you got the other bun, the bread at the top. When you look at it from a whole, it looks kind of complex. You got all this stuff going on, right? It's like a framework. This is a weird analogy, but if you understand each of those pieces, it becomes pretty easy to learn. But if you're not trained in your fundamentals and you don't understand one of those layers, then you're kind of lost, right? And that's where people have a lot of trouble, is that they don't understand one of the layers. So learn your fundamentals. All right, I went off on a big tangent there, talking about burgers and everything. Yeah, so in terms of developers marketing themselves, build your reputation, put up a site, start working with people, start putting out a couple of projects, get some certifications, not nearly as important as actually having a portfolio of some basic projects you worked on. The first couple of projects are going to be freebies, so you can cut your teeth, so you can learn, and just step in that ring and do what you need to do to really develop the skill sets. Trust me, once you've completed your first project, or even when you're halfway through it, you're going to feel so much more comfortable, so much more confident about your skills. It's unbelievable how much more confident you're going to feel. And trust me, this process that I'm outlining here in this video works in terms of getting a job. That's why people want to market themselves as developers. If you can't find a local business who you could build something for, then what you could do is you could just go to Upwork or some other site like that and just take projects that for free. Just do one or two small projects, emphasize small, and just do it for free. Because a big part of being a developer, remember, is communicating with the client. Whether the client is one of your freelance clients, or whether the client is an employee, or maybe a coworker, where you may be working with a team of developers, and your job might be to implement some aspect of a shopping cart system, just as an example. So you're going to need to communicate with the front-end developers. You're going to need to communicate perhaps with the database designer if you're in a bigger, a medium-sized or bigger business. So you're going to need to communicate with people to make sure everybody's on the same page with regards to how the app is being built. So for example, we're building out new modules to the Studio Web 4 system. So I have my lead developer for the app itself, and then I have my lead front-end designer, and everybody's got to talk to each other. I coordinate between the different people. This is just a couple examples right there. But if they can't communicate with each other, it's problematic. So so that's why you got to get into the game to learn how to better communicate with people when you're in a project. So there you go. That's how you market yourself as a developer. I hope this helps. All right, bye-bye.